So welcome. This is our virtual legislative reception and legislative day. This is a combo event since unfortunately we had to postpone our annual trip to Columbus in May. And this virtual event provides us the opportunity not only to hear some great legislative updates, but also to meet our newly elected and incumbent officials from the Dayton Region's delegation. So until we can meet again in person, this will be a great opportunity for our members to interact with some of the new folks and some of the folks who've been representing our community for quite a while. So this event this afternoon will be in two parts. The first part will be a panel, what matters to the business community, a policy discussion with Speaker Cupp and Senator Wilson and Chris Kirshner at the chamber. And then we'll move at about 4:45 with an opportunity for all the legislators that are on the call to pop on the screen and provide a few words of hello and welcome for the business community. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and move into some opening comments. I'd like to welcome our two sponsors for today's event. First up is Jason Kirshner, who is the Director of Government Affairs for Spectrum. Jason, welcome.
Thank you, Stephanie, and good afternoon, everyone. Again, as Stephanie mentioned, I am Jason Kirshner. I am the Government Affairs Director in Southwest and Western Ohio for Charter Communications. Really appreciate Stephanie and the entire Chamber team for hosting this event. While I'm sure that we all wish we could be together in person, Charter is certainly pleased to support this virtual event. As a representative of the leading provider in the broadband area, in the Dayton area, I first want to recognize those of you that are participating through a Spectrum connection. So thank you. I also want to introduce my colleague, Connie Luck. Connie is our Regional Senior Director of Government Affairs, and you will have the chance to hear from Connie just a little bit later in the program. In case you're not familiar with us, we are a broadband connectivity company and cable operator. Through our Spectrum brand, we offer a full range of services to our customers, including Spectrum Internet, TV, mobile, and voice. As we work every day to serve our nearly 2.5 million customers across the 85 Ohio counties that we are in, including nearly ubiquitous coverage in the Dayton region, we appreciate and the partnership of the Dayton Chamber. As we all know, jobs-friendly public policies have the power to support greater economic opportunity. And for a company that serves businesses of all sizes across all industries, that's a key to our continued growth. And of course, as we know now, connectivity matters more than ever. And our employees in the Dayton area, which we have nearly 1,000 of them, have been hard at work to meet the growing connectivity demands and expand service to help people, institutions, and businesses directly respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. And we're committed to helping more Ohioans get connected to quality broadband, especially those hit hardest by the pandemic. We've made broadband more accessible for low-income learners and seniors through our industry-leading Spectrum Internet Assist program. We launched in March and relaunched in September a 60-day free broadband offer for K through 12 and college students and teachers who currently lack Spectrum Internet at home. And our Stay Connected K through 12 service allows schools to help get internet service to students and teachers who don't have service at home. At Charter, our goal is to connect with you all to be a part of the solution. Again, we look forward to the continued partnership with the Chamber, and I'll turn it back over to you, Stephanie. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jason. We really appreciate your ongoing partnership and support of our government affairs programs. I'd like to turn it over to Jennifer Harrison, who is partner in charge with Taft Law. And Jennifer is also currently serving as the 2020 board chair of the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce. Jennifer, welcome.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Thank you so much for having me. We would have loved to have done this in person, but obviously that isn't possible. And my hat's off to you, to all of the chamber staff for making this possible virtually, and also to Spectrum. So thank you so much. We really are delighted to sponsor this event that is dedicated to highlighting the elected officials in our region. The attorneys of Taft have a long history of public service beginning with one of our co-founders, Robert A. Taft, who went on to become a U.S. Senator and is credited with the passage of the Taft-Hartley Act, which is the precursor to modern-day labor law. Taft has grown from having one office in the state of Ohio to having offices in 11 Midwest cities, including 5 in Ohio. We've been in the Dayton region for 17 years now, and we're committed to the success of this community. Our focus has remained constant, and that is to provide businesses of all sizes with sound legal advice. And I know that many of you have followed our COVID-19 legal updates, and we hope that they have been helpful for you. We're going to continue to do that, but we're going to be shifting focus a little bit to educate you and to give you our predictions about what companies can expect with the change in administration. So we look forward to keeping you updated and working with you, the leaders of our community. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. So with that, we are going to move to our panel presentation, and I'd like to welcome Speaker Cupp. Thank you, Speaker, for joining us today, as well as Senator Wilson on the phone. Thank you, Senator, for being here, and Chris Kirschner, who is President and CEO of the Dayton Chamber. Let me read some bios for you real quick, even though I know our audience today is familiar with our guest. Speaker Bob Cupp grew up on his family's farm in rural Allen County. A graduate of Columbus Grove Local Schools, he earned his political science and law degrees from Ohio Northern University. On July 30th, 2020, he was elected Speaker of the Ohio House of Representatives. He is currently serving his 3rd term in the House. Speaker Cupp has served as an elected official in all 3 branches of government and at both the local and state levels. As an Allen County Commissioner, a 4-term state senator, a Court of Appeals judge, and a justice of the Supreme Court of Ohio. Welcome, Speaker.
Thank you.
And next we have Senator Wilson. Senator Steve Wilson is currently serving his first full 4-year term in the Ohio Senate, representing all or part of Warren, Hamilton, and Butler counties. Senator Wilson was previously appointed in 2017 to fill a vacancy in the 7th Senate District. Senator Wilson is a retired CEO of LCNB Bank and a 3rd-generation Navy veteran. Thanks so much for joining us today, Senator. And finally, we have Chris Kirschner. Chris became President and CEO of the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce in August of 2020. After 15 years leading the Chamber's advocacy and public policy work, Chris works on behalf of over 2,200 members across a 9-county region in Southwest Ohio. So welcome, Chris. And last but not least, I'd like to introduce our moderator, Connie Luck. Connie is the Regional Senior Director of Government Affairs with Spectrum, and Connie is going to be moderating our panel with our 3 speakers today. So thank you, Connie, and welcome.
Great. Thanks, Stephanie. Well, we'll jump right in. Speaker, I think we'll begin with you. You get the first question here, and thank you all again for taking time to speak with us today. We know it's a very busy time. So Speaker, as you look into 2021, could you share some of the priorities that you'll be directing the House to take up that would most impact the business community?
Well, certainly. First of all, thank you for the invitation to be with you. I would be delighted to welcome you in Columbus, but we know that's not possible these days. So instead, I'm welcoming you into my home office. They used to say nothing brings it home like television. Well, here we are. So in any event, it's great to be with you by this medium. I'm still learning how to do it, but you know, where there's a will, there's a way. So we're continuing to do that. So next session, I think there's some of it depends on what happens the rest of this session, the post-election session that we're going into. But obviously in 2021, we do the state operating budget. It's going to be probably the biggest thing we do, because it's not only a statement of how we allocate our funds, but the way we allocate our funds is also a statement of what our public policies are. So obviously our goal would be to support our families, support opportunities for education, for being able to learn the skills necessary to take many of the jobs that go unfulfilled at a skill level that's necessary, address our criminal justice system, and all of the other things that a budget details. So we'll obviously be spending quite a bit of time on the budget. It may be a challenging budget. I think that would be fair to say. With the economic slowdown that we've had, the state budget has had some reduced revenue. The good news is that for the first few months of this current fiscal year, that the revenue is actually coming in at or exceeding original estimates. So that's positive news, but a lot of economists think that that is simply a pent-up demand. So we'll have to see how quickly our economy recovers, if a vaccine becomes available and things return to what will be normal, as we may see it in mid-year. Our budget may hold up rather well, but that's a challenge we're going to take. It's not only the operating budget, but it's also the highway budget to fund highway construction, which we know is all important. And I will have to say, I think Dayton has been,
Give you our predictions about what
I can remember, on Interstate 75. I think you're almost finished. I'm not sure the last time I went through there, it looked like it was getting near, but I'm sure there'll be more to come. So anyway, always something interesting happening in Dayton in transportation ways. So we do the workers' compensation budget. One of the, of course, the most important things we do is, fund our schools. We hope we have a new school funding system in place by the end of this year, for which our budget can then use that framework to allocate funds in a more fair, rational way. Our current formula is actually not even functioning anymore. It's mostly entirely ad hoc, which leads to a lot of unpredictability for those who operate our schools, not knowing exactly what to expect or when. And so
on his family's farm.
In place this year, we'll certainly be working on it in the early part of next year. One of the other things that I think it would be important to address, and that is crime victims' rights. We know a lot about crime victims and criminals in our criminal justice system. We're beginning to learn a lot more about what works and doesn't work. There's plenty of bills to reform our criminal sentencing laws in the current General Assembly. But we also have to care about the crime victims. A number of years ago, Ohioans passed a new amendment to the Ohio Constitution for crime victims, referred to as Marsy's Law. That has never actually been implemented by statute yet, and many courts are are concerned because I'm not quite sure how it operates. So we'd like to put the legislative statutory framework in place for that. So those are a few of them. One thing we can count on is that there will always be something unexpected that comes along in the legislative arena affecting public policy, and so we have to be nimble and ready to address that as well.
Great, thanks, Speaker. Senator Wilson, if you can hear me, we'll go to you here. As the Speaker said, before we get to next year, we have to get through this year. We have to get through lame duck, and as we know, it's usually a very busy time, potentially even more busy than the everyday work that you all do leading up to it. But can you touch on any legislation that you and your caucus are committed to addressing over the next month or so as we get into lame duck?
Certainly. This year has been disruptive for the legislature as well as every business, every individual. And so we are way behind with a lot of things, having sat on the sideline while we did the essential legislation to distribute CARE Act money to do things that were important to fighting the virus. But we hope, and I think that we will have a very productive lame duck session. I think where I gain the most comfort is the communications that are now open between the leadership in the House and the leadership in the Senate. I know that the Speaker and President Obhoff talk on a regular basis, and we seem to both be pulling on the rope the same way, which is very, very a good thing compared to how it was in the past. The things that I think we'll be looking at right away, and this is just a limited list, but it is something that I think is important. The speaker mentioned Cupp Patterson, the reform of the school funding formula, and that I hope we get over the finish line. The criminal sentencing reform he mentioned, and I think that that is something that we'll want to try to get over the finish line. In my energy committee, we're dealing with 346, House Bill 346, which is the repeal of, Senate Bill 346, which is the repeal of HB 6, and we're having hearings on that now, including hearings tomorrow. HB 13, broadband, which has become so important in this new world we live in, where kids are going to school virtually and people are working from home. We have many people in Ohio that don't have adequate broadband coverage or any coverage at all. Financial literacy is near and dear to my heart, and there's a bill pending there that I'd like to see get across the finish line. And then we have an unfinished capital budget. We'll definitely have to be skinny down, but we didn't do one this year. And I know that both the House and the Senate are committed to do a scaled back capital budget because it continues to be so very important to our different entities, our townships, our villages, our cities, to the different departments at the state. So I look forward to getting all those things accomplished and more. And the word we got was rest up through election day, but when we come back, we'll be working full time till the end of the year. And I welcome that, and I look forward to us getting a lot of things done here in the last couple months.
Great, thanks, Senator, and thank you for your leadership on those issues. Chris, we'll jump to you here. You're always, as much as you can be now, on the phone with or out meeting with chamber members and businesses in the area. What have you heard, and what are the biggest policy concerns that you're hearing from members of the chamber?
Thanks, Connie, and thanks Speaker Cupp and Senator Wilson for joining us, and thanks to Spectrum and Taft Centenius and Hollister for helping support this event. You're absolutely right. I've been out there meeting with businesses, talking with businesses, trying to get a feel for where they're at, because everybody's in a different position given COVID-19. Businesses are really concerned right now. They're really concerned with the long-term economic impact that COVID is going to have on our economy. What kind of impact is it going to have on the economy, their workforce, their operations? There's a lot of unknowns right now. And many businesses are dependent on capitalism and a free enterprise system that's really firing on all cylinders. And when that's not firing on all cylinders, or when it's hindered or slowed down, that impact can have a ripple throughout our economy. So this, combined with the uncertainty as to when's COVID going to be over, I think we could all throw down a bet and pick a month, and we all might be wrong, we all might be right, because nobody really knows right now. So that uncertainty is creating concern in the business community. Some businesses are holding back on investments right now because it's not because they don't have the cash, but it's because they're concerned as to when this is going to be over, and they want to get it figured out and have a certainty about the future so they can start to plan for their future investments and their growth, and really have some certainty about what's going to be best for their business long term. So that's creating just a little bit of that, I want to say, uneasiness in the business community. But there are some specific policy concerns that have come up that we really want to get done here in the short term. It was already mentioned by Senator Wilson, but in lame duck session, we are hoping to see broadband access across the state expanded. Bridging that digital divide for rural and underserved populations is extremely important. The Chamber recently endorsed House Bill 13, which is addressing this issue. We're going to be in Columbus providing proponent testimony on House Bill 13 tomorrow. So getting that passed here in lame duck session is very important to us and to our members. Additionally, in 2021, state ballot reform is going to continue to be a top concern for us. Ohio has unfortunately been the testing ground for some out-of-state political ideologies when they want to test constitutional amendments. And we have a pretty easy process that allows these things to get on the ballot. So every time one of these rogue constitutional amendments gets on the Ohio ballot, it costs the business community millions of dollars to defeat it. And these aren't things that Ohio wants. These weren't generated by Ohioans, but they're coming to us, and we're having to run the opposition campaigns on them, and we're against them, and we're having to fund them. So working on addressing those statutory changes around the ballot process, I think will be still be a top priority in 2021. And then lastly, I should mention municipal taxing. Given the new at-home work environments, it's creating a conversation around where income taxes will be paid. Our legislative committee at the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce is currently considering the impacts of this issue. But the one thing that's clear that we need to have is a system that will have minimal burden on the business community and also doesn't devastate our cities. Now, what the right answer is, we don't know yet. We are still doing our due diligence to review the different proposals, see what the right answer is, but we know that the business community cannot continue to be burdened with more and more restrictions and more regulations. That's just a non-starter for us. So we want to work with the legislature and with our business community to try to address this issue in 2021. And then finally, thanks, Senator Wilson, for mentioning that capital budget is so important to us. We have some amazing partners here in the Dayton area that have some great capital budget projects that are on hold right now because they're unsure about if there's going to be support from the state. So I think moving a capital budget forward would be well received here in the greater Dayton area. So Connie, that's what I have for now. I'll kick it back to you, but that's what our priorities that we're looking at here in the near future and 2021.
Great, thanks, Chris. Senator Wilson, we'll go back to you with a question about business support for pandemic support for businesses getting through this time. Can you provide an update on the Small Business Relief Grant Program and how you're working to ensure our small businesses are able to get the assistance they need to keep their doors open right now?
Yes, and there's really two aspects to that. There's the CARE dollars that went to the various counties, and each county reacted that a different way. I know my primary county is Warren County, and the commissioners in Warren County set up a grant program aside from the states with the CARE dollars they received, and our businesses can apply for help through that program, for grants through that program. And so that's it. We kind of have a two-tiered system here because of that. The state program is one that allows for businesses that have specific needs to put in for grant money, and then we have the one locally here at the county. Very, very important. I think the most important thing is to get businesses opened up and running and let them get back to normal. I know I heard it said by Jason that they just want certainty. Oh, do we all want certainty? But I think the good news is that we've had two announcements in the last 48 hours of two different vaccines that are ready to go. And I believe that we will see the elderly and first responders and people working from home potentially by the end of the year, no later than January, and then following right on the heels of that, the general public. And if we can get that vaccine out there, and let me be careful and say not mandated to be received, because there's a real pushback by a lot of citizens on not wanting the vaccine, but there'll be enough people that do want it, and most people that do want it, most people that do get it, that I think we are going to have some certainty earlier rather than later in the new year as to the end of the virus effectively, and we can move forward. But we've got to get through now and the end of the year, through the holidays. We have the spike going on, and that is what's creating I'm sure the uncertainty for businesses right now as to what kind of restrictions are going to be put in place.
Great, thanks, Senator. Before we open up for questions from the audience, just one last question related to the region's largest single site employer, right, Pat. First to Chris, I know that attraction and retention of new missions has been a big priority of the Chamber. Can you discuss some of the ways that you've worked to position the Dayton region to take advantage of those opportunities?
Thanks, Connie. Yeah, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is the largest single site employer in the entire state of Ohio. Latest counts are up to 35,000 people employed at the base with about a $14 billion annual economic impact. This is huge. This is not something we take lightly in the Dayton area. So a few years ago, we passed House Bill 372, which provided a state income tax exemption on military pensions in the state of Ohio so that we can keep more of that retired military here and keep them as part of our workforce and contributing to Ohio's economy. This past summer, we were successful in passing House Bill 16, thanks to Representative Rick Perales for taking the lead on this for our business community. And congrats, Rick, on being elected Greene County Commissioner. This issue came from our Military Advocacy Committee right here at the Chamber. And what it does is it allows for any active duty military man or woman and their dependents to be able to get in-state tuition at Ohio's great state colleges and universities. So this is a way to honor our military, but it's also a way to attract our military and to attract their dependents to our schools here so they can become part of our education system and part of our future workforce. And now most recently, we're working with the new base commander at the base, Colonel Miller. He recently brought an issue to us regarding access to school vouchers for recently relocated airmen to Ohio. He wants to ensure that military that receive new orders to come to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base are afforded the same opportunities to access school vouchers as those people that are already here and residents of the state. So we will be working with the legislature to try to work that issue out in 2021. Again, Wright-Pat continues to be a major economic driver for the state, so we will always have a focus on that and improving the quality of life for our airmen out at the base.
Great. And Speaker Cupp, back to you. Can you share a little bit about how the state is working to support Wright-Pat and the military installations around the state?
Sure. Well, I think Chris mentioned a number of those that the legislature has engaged on in past and to make Ohio a more military-friendly state. I remember former Senator Chuck Horn, some of you will remember him, whom I served with in the state Senate for about 16 years, I think. And he was both an engineer and a lawyer and a state senator. And he always tried to let other people know how significant Wright-Pat was to the state of Ohio. And I think the number that kind of resonated in my mind is that he said, did you know that every day there are 10,000 scientists and engineers that go to work at Wright-Pat? And that's a huge number, and it has tremendous spillover for the state of Ohio. So we want to continue working in ways to support that. The governor has a military facilities commission. Here in Lima, Allen County, we have the Joint Systems Manufacturing facility, which manufactures the Abrams tanks, or remanufactures now, and also the Stryker troop carrier. So we have a connection here with the military jobs as well. We know how significant they are. So we're always on alert in ways that we can be helpful to foster those facilities and the jobs that are at them. And of course, we know that they have such a significance in protecting our country from foreign adversaries. So they're important in so many ways.
Well, thank you again, Speaker Cupp, Chairman Wilson, and Chris. I'm going to turn it over to
ballot reform is going to
the audience.
Great, thank you, Connie. I've seen a few questions come in from our attendees, but I will encourage you, if you have a question for either Speaker Cupp or Senator Wilson or Chris, just go ahead and put it in the question box. But our first question is for Speaker Cupp. So we've heard all across the country that government budgets are really being impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Can you shed any light on how the state budget process might be impacted or look different in the next General Assembly?
Yes, as I've indicated, it's a little uncertain as to what the state revenues might be, and that it's dependent on how quickly our economy recovers. I think there's a lot of unknowns, and we don't even know what we don't know. I think it's fair to say. So obviously we'll be monitoring that. We'll be looking at the best projection. But we've got a couple things that need to be pretty careful from. During this period of time, we have the federal Medicaid match has increased, and so we've been drawing down money to help our Medicaid expenditures, whether they're in our nursing home or medical assistance for indigent individuals. But that's going to run out, and so there's a question about what will that cost the state of Ohio and Ohio taxpayers with our state revenue. So that's an unknown yet as to what that's going to be. But I would say that point out that Medicaid is one of the largest expenditures of our state budget, exceeded only, and I think this is good news, by our state expenditures for primary and secondary education. So either one of those has a big impact. And so those are the kind of things we're going to be looking at. I would also point out, although it's not out of the general state budget, we have been drawing down a lot of federal dollars for unemployment compensation. And we know that our unemployment compensation system, even before this, was structurally out of balance. That is, more money being paid out than was being paid in. And there's been efforts over a number of years to try to resolve that issue, but it's always may have come close, but it's never come to closure on it. So that'll be an issue that we'll also be focused on.
And with our business community to try.
And lots of businesses' budgets that we need to be mindful of.
Thank you, Speaker. This next question is for Senator Wilson. Senator Wilson, workforce development continues to be a huge concern for the business community. Can you share a little bit about the work that you've done to expand and streamline industry recognized credentials for in-demand jobs?
Pleased to do that. Certainly, even before we got into the virus, that was what was holding back our economy more than anything I could think of. And so I have been working with our school superintendents. I've been working with the Coalition of Businesses and the United Way that has a program in my district to match the needs of our industries and of our different businesses within the 7th District with the education process. We've come a long way. When I first started working on this, the thought was that if you didn't have your child go to college, you were a failure. And the schools kind of perpetuated that. They would do everything they could to brag about, and it was rightly so, because the report card recognized this, that they had to play to. They would brag about, we sent 96% of our kids to the military or to college. And what we need to recognize is that there is a great living in, and there's great prestige in being a welder, in being a nurse, in being a machinist. And so we've been working very hard on that. We've made inroads with Sinclair College and with Great Oaks and with our different local school districts. And we are now turning out a lot more certificated graduates that can go right out and go into the workforce and meet these needs. You know, we had a situation there for a while where we'd have a business come to the 7th District, and they would say, boy, we'd like to come here and we'd like to bring 5,000 jobs and et cetera. Do you have a place for us? Oh, yes, we do. We have a shovel-ready place with utilities, et cetera. And will you give us some help? Oh, absolutely. You know, we have TIFs and we have this program and that program. And say, okay, one other thing, we're going to need 150 machinists and 200 welders. Can you provide that? And the room went silent. Well, hopefully we're going to be in a position when we come out of COVID that we will get back to and have been continuing through the COVID with programs that are going to produce the people that are needed within our businesses that have the proper certificates. They can stack their certificates. They can stack their certificates and go on to get an associate's degree or even a bachelor's degree. But the net result is we're doing a much better job of matching the needs with the educational system.
Thank you, Senator Wilson. Yeah, you're spot on from what we're hearing from employers about the need for those skilled workers. Absolutely. I think this last question is probably for Chris, but this is a sort of crystal ball question, Chris. As you look at the Dayton region and how it's positioned to come out of COVID, what do you think are the strengths of the business community that you see that really will position us to survive and even thrive as we navigate out of this crisis?
Well, the number one indicator, I think, is our economic health going into COVID. The Dayton area business community was in strong economic health going into COVID. We were seeing developments happening all around the region, from new buildings going up and investments being made at Wright Pat, to growth to the south, to new buildings and development that's been happening all around the region. Downtown specifically, you've had the arcade development, you've got the fire blocks, you have the great work that Jason Woodard's been doing around the ballpark, and just many, many investments. Those were all in really good place going into COVID. And they're going to continue to be. Some may be paused a little bit, some may be a couple more months behind than they originally thought, but the investments are moving forward. And we've done a really good job in the Dayton area of diversifying our economy. We learned some lessons from the past when we were heavily invested in automotive manufacturing. While we still have a lot of automotive manufacturing investment, we realize that having all of our eggs in a basket like that doesn't always work out well. So we've done a good job of diversifying our economy, making sure we have industries that are thriving and doing well, and ensuring we have a good mix of industry that's here. We have logistics and distribution that's doing very well. We have 3 best healthcare networks in the entire world right here. We have CareSource, which is headquartered here in Dayton, which does Medicaid managed care for the entire state of Ohio, has made a significant investment in downtown. So a number of these companies and partners that are going to continue to grow and invest, and we're going to continue to work with them. So I feel good about us coming out of COVID. It's just getting to that point. We've got to get to that finish line so we can put the fork in COVID and move on.
Great. Well, I don't see any more questions, so I will say thank you to Speaker Cupp and to Senator Wilson and to Chris so much for being part of this panel today. Thank you all. And yeah, we're looking forward to a bright future here in Ohio, but we've got some hard work ahead of us, which you all spoke so well about. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay. So we are going to go ahead and shift to our second portion, and you're going to have to bear with us because this is us trying to use technology in new and different ways. But we wanted to give an opportunity for those legislators that are on the call to come on the screen or turn on their microphones, depending on what they're able to do, and just say a few words of welcome. So what I'm going to ask Jennifer to do is introduce those legislators that have joined us one by one. And when she does read your short bio,
I think we are going to have some.
Or turn on your camera, come on the screen, and then you'll have the floor for a minute or so to introduce yourself to the business community that's on the call. So Jennifer, I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thanks so much, Stephanie. So my first introduction is Representative-elect Andrea White. Kettering's Clerk of Court, and Andrea White was elected to represent Ohio's 41st District in the Ohio House of Representatives. She is the legislative co-chair and a past president of the Ohio Association of Municipal County Court Clerks.
Thanks, everybody. It's really great to be with you today, and I appreciate the opportunity. I will tell you that I've been involved in a lot of campaigns over the years. This has to be the strangest, but probably the most rewarding that I've been involved in. I met so many great people, whether it was a virtual experience or walking through the neighborhoods in a socially distanced way, and people were walking their dogs on their porch, doing life, and they really shared their hearts and what was on their minds. And so many issues that are out there, and I'm excited to take my experiences. So I've been in the private sector, worked as a business consultant and run a small business. I've worked with healthcare and nonprofits, and then for the past 17 years, I've been the clerk of court for Kettering Municipal Court, and of course, trying to take those business experiences and help government run more functional, cut costs, improve the way we serve. And then I've also been involved in community initiatives, getting things going for our at-risk families and children, working on hunger, addictions, and things related to education. So the criminal justice field, of course, has a lot of needs. I'm really excited to be able to take these diverse experiences and put them to work for our community. I love to listen and learn. I find myself telling people a lot. I believe we have so much more in common than what divides us. And I have a passion for bringing people together to solve problems. And that means bringing every voice to the table and giving people an opportunity to be heard. So thank you. I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of you over the coming weeks and months. And I appreciate this opportunity to meet you briefly today.
Great, thanks so much. Our next introduction is Senator-elect Niraj Antani. Senator-elect Antani has represented the 42nd District in the Ohio House of Representatives since 2014. He won the general election this year for the 6th District of the Ohio Senate. Senator-elect Niraj Antani.
Well, thank you, and thanks to Chris and the Chamber for hosting this, and great to be with everyone here virtually. It's really been an honor to serve, the community in which I was born and raised, here in South Dayton, in the House for the last 6 years, and look forward to being able to be given the opportunity to serve a larger area, nearly all of the suburbs of Dayton in the Senate. Truly a very important work we have ahead of us to do with, COVID, both on the health side and the economic side, and just, truly thankful for the support I've received from the business community here in the greater Dayton area, and look forward to continuing to work with everyone. And, as always, please do let me know how I can be helpful.
Great, thank you so much. Our next introduction is Senator Bob Hackett. Senator Hackett is a member of Ohio's Senate and has represented the 10th District since 2016. Previously, he was a member of the Ohio House of Representatives from 2009 through 2016, representing the 74th District.
Thank you. Yes, I do represent the 10th District, and that encompasses Clark, Greene, and Madison County. I'm a member of 6 committees. I'm chair of the Insurance and Financial Institution Committee, also the Health and Medicaid Committee, Local and Government and Public Safety, Ways and Means, Ag and Natural Resources. I'm also vice chair of the subcommittee in the budget for Health and Medicaid. I just want to echo what Senator Wilson said about Bob Cupp. Boy, we couldn't be more pleased that Bob Cupp is the Speaker of the House. I worked with Bob in the House, and he was fantastic. So, the communications have gotten better overnight, and we're going to have a great lame duck because of the 2 great leaders that we have. I'll be serving my last term in the Senate beginning January 1. I have a real strong business background, still work in the business community, and I'm a member of more than one chamber, and have been for many, many years. So thanks for having me, Dayton Chamber.
Great, thanks so much. Next is Representative-elect Rodney Creech. Rodney Creech was elected to represent District 43 in the Ohio House of Representatives. He is a Preble County native and has been a county commissioner for Preble County since 2014. Representative-elect Creech.
I see him on here, Jennifer. So let me see if we can get him
Unmuted.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and we'll try to circle back around to him at the end.
Okay, great. I will move on to Representative Kyle Kaler. Representative Kaler is currently serving his third term in the Ohio House, representing the 79th District. At the General Assembly in 2019, Representative Kaler was named chairman of the Ohio House Agricultural and Rural Development Committee. Representative Kaler.
Thank you, Jennifer. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
Great. It's exciting to hear what everybody's talking about. I work in manufacturing, been an owner of a manufacturing firm in Springfield for about 30 years. And as I'm driving home, I'm going from inner city Springfield to rural, and I had to stop at a parking lot just to be able to get internet, because I know when I get out in my area of town, we don't have rural internet. So I'm just excited about hearing what everybody else is talking about. House Bill 13, Rick Carfagna's bill to increase rural internet. Hearing Chris Kirshner talk about ballot reform and how we put things on the ballot. I carried House Joint Resolution 1, which talks about trying to fix that issue, and the speaker talking about school budgeting and how we're going to pay for schools in the state of Ohio. Those are all things that are just so very important to Clark County, which is on the outskirts of Dayton. And I'm just excited to be working on those things. I know I've got a couple bills that we're going to go back and work on. One of them has to do with the Fresh Start Act and allowing folks that have made mistakes in their lives in the past, but spent at least 5 years doing the right thing, allowing them a second chance at getting occupational licensing in Ohio, which covers about 20% of the jobs in Ohio. So there's a lot of bills we're going to be working on in lane facility and helping not only the Dayton area, but all the folks across Ohio. So I'm excited to start my final term in the Ohio House and continue helping the folks in Southwest Ohio, but also all over the state of Ohio.
Great, thanks so much. Next is Representative-elect Willis Blackshear Jr. Willis Blackshear Jr. was elected to the Ohio House of Representatives, representing the 39th District, and will assume office on January 1st of 21. He is an outreach specialist with the Montgomery County Auditor's Office and son of former county recorder Willis Blackshear Sr. Representative-elect Willis Blackshear Jr.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sure can.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. I just want to say that it is an honor to be amongst you all this evening virtually. I will say that this year has been one for the history books. When I ran, my main goal was I just wanted to serve the people, serve my community. And I'm honored that I am able to serve my community. A lot of good things were spoken just a few moments ago. One of the things I'm passionate about is education. And it's good to hear that we will be working on fixing the funding model that has been ruled unconstitutional since the 90s. Also, too, one of the things I've learned since working for government is how business and government go hand in hand, and how we all can work together and collaborate. One of the things that we need to get under control is obviously a pandemic. The pandemic has slowed our economic growth. So one of the things we need to focus on is making sure that we are getting this virus under control, and we can move forward like we was before. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to working with you all in the near future.
Thank you so much. Next is Representative-elect Brian Lampton. Brian Lampton was elected to represent the 73rd District of the Ohio House of Representatives beginning January 1st of 21. He owns and operates Lampton Angle and Associates Insurance and Financial Services and is the current president of the Fairborn Chamber of Commerce. Representative-elect Brian Lampton.
Hello, thank you. Welcome, and I'd like to thank you, Jennifer, and Chris for hosting the event. Appreciate the invitation. District 73 is Western Greene County, so we got Yellow Springs, Fairborn, Beaver Creek, and Bellbrook. As announced, I'm a 30-year insurance agent. I've been serving my community for that time. I'm a past president of the Beaver Creek Chamber and current president of the Fairborn Chamber. I want to give a shout out to Senator Hackett and also my predecessor, Rick Perales, Representative Perales. Another one of the big things that they did to protect the missions, and the families here at Right Path, which is so very important to the entire state, was a bill called License Reciprocity, which gave spouses of military folks that moved into the area, if they had an insurance license, for example, or a beautician's license, that license in another state would be recognized in Ohio. So an absolutely wonderful bill that was signed into law last year. So I want to continue the support of those families and the missions here at Right Path. I also like to give a shout out to the Greene County Career Center. Another big important part of what we do is getting folks ready for the jobs of the future and the jobs that will be coming to this area or are already here. And the Career Center with their new facility in Xenia, they're putting together, they've got a great carpentry program, welding program, HVAC. They're adding a hangar at the Greene County Airport, and they're going to be doing airplane and airline mechanics. Also, they're going to be working in drone engineering and a lot of IT work, including computer and network security. So I'm again grateful for the opportunity, looking forward to serving the good folks of District 73.
Great, thanks so much. Next is Representative, that's the 80th district in the Ohio House of Representatives. At 26, she is the youngest legislator currently serving in the General Assembly. In 2019, Representative Powell was named to Forbes' prestigious 30 Under 30 list for law and policy. Representative Powell.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me. This is Jenna. I am thrilled to be on the call today. Like many of you business owners in our community, you know, my brother and I co-own and manage an outdoor advertising company across the state. And, you know, over the last 9 months with everything with the pandemic happening and orders and mandates and things changing, much like many of you, I can understand a lot of the issues and turmoil associated with many of the governor's orders and mandates on all of Ohioans. So, you know, with that knowledge, I've been able to take that into the state legislature and do everything I can. I think the biggest issue right now facing our community and state is kind of the overrun of the executive branch in this health crisis. A lot of my time and energy over the last 9 months has been doing everything we can to revise the code that the governor and the director of health are using for his shutdowns and mandates on business owners. It's been extremely harmful to the business community, and we've seen a lot of the data that's coming out. If we have a second shutdown, just what that really means on a day-to-day basis for business owners. So that is the #1 issue that I am working on in the Ohio House. And, you know, hopefully we can get it finished in lame duck, but if not, you know, I'll continue working on it because I do believe the power needs to be in the hands of the people and not just one individual in the state of Ohio. On top of that, over the last 2 years, I've worked on a lot of business and regulatory tax policy. We passed House Bill 197, which went through the entire tax code and changed errors and different issues with that. Additionally, I'm working on the License Reciprocity Act, which would help business owners throughout our state with one of the top issues that's facing their business even now during a pandemic is a workforce shortage. So those are some of the things that I am very passionate and I'm working on, and I'm thrilled to be entering a second term into the Ohio legislature.
Great, thank you so much. Steph, have we been able to connect with Representative-elect Rodney Creech?
It doesn't
I called
look
in.
like it. Oh, he's there. Great.
Can you? I gave up on the computer and went to the phone.
Okay, well, very good. Well, we're glad that you figured that out. Rodney Creech was elected. I don't remember if I did this before, so I'm just going to make sure that we don't overlook you. So Representative-elect Creech was elected to represent District 43 in the Ohio House of Representatives. He's a Preble County native and has been a county commissioner since 2014.
Well, thank you. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm glad we were able to get around them. But yeah, I started out my political career as a township trustee, fell in love with serving people, and I'm currently serving in my second term as a county commissioner, and couldn't be more excited to represent the 43rd district. I owned 3 small businesses. One of them, hopefully many of you've heard of in the Dayton area, called Lawn Plus. We do fertilization, weed control. I have about 40 employees, and I've learned a lot being a business owner, and I'm looking forward to taking my local government experience and my business experience to the State House. Looking very forward to working with Speaker Cupp, and can't wait to represent the people here that I love so much. So appreciate your time today, and I can tell you I'm going to be a good friend of business.
Oh, thank you so much. Is there anybody on the call or on the webinar that we've missed? Great. Well, hearing none, I'm going to turn things back over to Stephanie.
Great. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And I want to thank all of our great members and attendees today for your flexibility and your patience as we've adapted this event to the virtual environment. But you know that this is not the last opportunity for you to interact with our really impressive legislative delegation. We'll be working on other opportunities for you to connect with them, both virtually and in person when we're able to. And as you could tell by many of their comments today, we've got a great delegation representing the Dayton region. So we look forward to working with all of you to advance the priorities that matter to the business community over the next year. So with that, I do want to thank our panel presenters again, Speaker Bob Cupp, Senator Steve Wilson, and Chris Kirschner for doing a little forecasting for us and a little discussion about what matters most to the business community. And I want to end by thanking our sponsors, Spectrum and Taft. Really, sponsor is not the right word. Partner and advocate are truly the words to use. It's a pleasure to work with you, and thank you for your ongoing support of our legislative priorities and of all of we're able to offer to the business community. So with that, everyone have a
and that is
Monday, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.